Hello, my name is Jeff Meyer. I'm a crop protection territory manager in Eastern Missouri, joined with Joe Bolte, who's the FDS for the MoCan team as well. What brings us together today, we wanted to share what's going on here in Eastern Missouri. So we are near Bellflower, Missouri, and we are in the middle of a stabilizer trial. So this last fall, we did 150 pounds of anhydrous ammonia applied, and we are standing on the trial treatment line. Joe is in the insert line, and I'm in where the Centura was used. And you can really see some visual differences on the overall robustness of the form. We started to really see these symptoms pretty early in its life, probably V5, V6. And then but prior to that, we took several soil samples measuring overall nitrogen in the trials. We have several different treatments throughout, and we'll show you a map of that. And what we found is wherever the N-Serve was applied, much higher amounts of the nitrogen that's in it, much higher amounts of the stable form, the ammonium, carried on much longer into the season. And what's great to see as far as for this grower, where the N-Serve was applied, you can really see that in the overall robustness of the corn. Green, thicker stalks, really looking like it's going to have a lot better chance to finish out the season. Additional nitrogen that was applied, there was top dress urea, 60 pounds of actual nitrogen was applied about a couple weeks ago. It's July 11th today. And with that, Joe's going to go into some of the technical information why we're seeing maybe the differences across the two treatments.
Yeah, so when we think about N-Serve or Instinct Next Gen, it's nitropyrin's the active there. It's been around for many years. It's the proven active there. When we think about nitrogen, we want to keep it in its most stable form. So that ammonium form or that NH4 form, it's just more stable. We think about East Central Missouri's. We're on a hard flake plant soil. Maybe we don't have the best drainage here. Maybe we're going to sit a little bit wetter there. We will need to keep that nitrogen in a stable form there. And what happens is when we think of the nitrous ammonious bacteria, they're going to convert that into nitrate there. And basically what happens with that form is it's just not as stable in the soil. And with that, we can get more nitrogen loss. And what we've seen here with, using a product like N-Serve there is basically that nitrous ammonious bacteria, we're able to put it in a stasis state, which ultimately helps slow down that conversion process. It's going to keep our ammonium, our NH4 form in that stable form in the soil longer because we're basically slowing that process down. That's still a form that the plant can definitely uptake there. And the ways we kind of see this is there's different ways to do some soil tests there where we can actually evaluate, hey, how much nitrate do we have in the soil? How much ammonium do we have in the soil? And how much pounds of nitrogen? So the higher percentage of the ammonium form is basically B, or keeping that nitrogen in a little bit more stable form, which is good when we have some of these wetter years, or even in years where we've done these studies, maybe on even spring. When we think about springtime, when we're out there putting nitrogen on, we've even seen it where we're in the springtime, we can still see an advantage there. So that's why we always want to be stabilizing, whether we're talking in the fall, whether we're talking in the spring. It helps protect that nitrogen there, keeping it in that stable form there. And Jeff, kind of, I guess, walk us through maybe some of the results you've had. So when I'm looking at these results, I'm looking at, hey, how much pounds of nitrogen is in the soil? Also, how much ammonium do we have there versus nitrate? I guess, what are some of the things that you've seen here with the study this year?
Yeah, so how we started off the season, we went into doing soil samples. First cores were pulled, 12-inch cores pulled in late March. At that trial, the biggest differences, so there's one untreated strip in this trial, and then we have several strips of N-Serve treated ammonium and several strips of Centura treated ammonium. And what we did, we pulled cores, 12-inch cores out of the untreated strip and the N-Serve treated, two different strips of the N-Serve treated and two different strips of the Centura treated. And what we tried to do is get to be the same night on the bar to make sure we were trying to minimize as many variables as we could. The first sample was pulled in March, and you could see big differences with how Centura and N-Serve were both keeping more ammonium in those areas off of compared to the untreated strip. Then if we fast forward, came back again in April, having rainfalls off and on as well. And what you could see is the drastic difference of the N-Serve treated ammonium the insert treated strips much higher in overall ammonium still available. I think the original treatment, if I remember right, was 92%. It dropped to somewhere in the 80 something percent on the insert treated a month later or so. The Centuro treated went from 82% ammonium in March and dropped down to in the 20 to 30 some percent of overall ammonium in the field. And again, as we all know, ammonium is the desired form of nitrogen that you want to have in the soil. Corn can use nitrate as well, but we know that's very mobile. This field wasn't planted until May 14th, I believe. So a lot of the nitrogen conversion already happened before this corn was even in the field. And as you're seeing in these visuals, it's a great visual and testimony of how much nitropyrin, the active ingredient in Inserve, can really do for fall applied ammonium, anhydrous ammonia, or even spring applied anhydrous ammonia.
I say one thing I would add to that is sometimes you may get this question is, hey, I'm just going to come in and maybe top dress to try to make up, hey, I know I lost some nitrogen there. But I look at these plants here, even though after it's top dress, if we think about those critical growth stages on that corn plant, these plants in the untreated and then in the treatment you're standing in there, they definitely were stressed when we hit some of those critical growth stages. So basically, who knows on when we look at maybe the yield impact there, we'll have to see what the combine shows. But to your point, some really great visuals. These plants have been very stressed in a time when they're going through some of those critical growth stages there.
Yeah, good point. And just another build on that. Back to the soil samples, we did pull another in crop. We had basically across the 30-inch row, we pulled several cores, all at 12 inches on all the treatments, again, untreated. Inserve, which was 2 different spots. We pulled the cores as well as 2 different spots in the Centuro treated. And once again, even in crop, nitropyrin was still influencing the overall nitrogen. We still had a significant more amount of overall parts per million of nitrogen and a significant increase in percentages of ammonium, even in crop, versus the other two areas of the anhydrous ammonia, Centuro or in untreated. So again, the visual tells a lot, but there is some of the details behind it really all make sense. We're really looking forward to the yield and overall finishing out the trial. We feel like there's a lot of opportunity. There's certain guys maybe that aren't using Inserve or they haven't been using a stabilizer at all. And we feel like this trial helps ground truth a lot of the overall agronomics and benefits we say about Inserve.
Well, with that, thank you for joining us today. We'll see you this fall with some updates.
Yep, thank you.